Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our regular meeting of the Plainville Town Council. Today is Monday, August 21st, 7 p.m. If you'll please stand, I'll ask Vice Chair Underwood to read the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We do not have any presentations this evening, but we do have a public hearing. At this time, I'll ask our town clerk to please read the notice of the public hearing.
Thank you. Notice is hereby given that the Plainville Town Council will hold a public hearing at 7 p.m. on Monday, August 21st, 2023, in the council chambers of the Municipal Center, 1 Central Square in Plainville, to hear public comments on proposed amendments to Ordinance Chapter 219, Fires and Fire Prevention, Article 4, Fire Protection and Life Safety Systems Inspection. A copy of the proposed amendments is on file and available for public inspection during normal business hours in the office of the town clerk, dated at Plainville, Connecticut, the 17th day of August, 2023.
Great, thank you. Michael, will you just give us a brief overview of the changes that we're going to be making and taking public comment on? Just a quick overview is good.
Sure. Actually, this is something we addressed at the last meeting to explain that the ordinance doesn't allow us to go to a third party, and so this change would allow the fire marshal to the ability to send out and allow a third party vendor to come in and collect data and information needed. And I know the fire marshal is here, could probably set this up if you would like to hear directly from him with the detail and the companies.
Yeah, Ron doesn't mind that. Give us a little context for those who are not familiar with what we're going to be doing.
You know, one of the points that was asked at the council, that it's cost neutral and it's not an expense, but Ron can take us through that recap, and I think it'll be a great setup for anyone that wants to speak on it.
Great, thank you. Hi, Ron.
Good afternoon, or good evening, how are you?
Good, thank you.
The company is Brycer, or any third-party vendor, I believe is how we wrote it, so we're not locked into one of them. But what it does, it's a third-party vendor. They'll come in and they'll establish a database of all fire protection systems in the town. They will send out the notices, they will send out the reminders for maintenance. This ordinance would require all vendors that do the work to the systems to report to them, which in turn comes up on my dashboard. If they get compliance, great, the process moves on. If they don't, I believe after the second notice, then it comes to me and then I do the abatement process, and obviously boots on the ground at that point to try and get compliance and figure out why that stuff's not done. In terms of cost, it's of no cost to the town. It's the only cost is to the vendor that's doing the inspection or the repair. As they submit a report to Brycer or to whatever third-party vendor, there's a minimal cost to upload that report onto their system, which in turn will show up on my dashboard. So it's of no cost to the town.
Great. Okay. Thank you so much. Any questions for Ron while he's at the podium from the council? Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, with that information, I'll open up the public hearing. If anybody wishes to speak to the proposed amendment to Chapter 219, Fires and Fire Prevention, Article 4, Fire Protection and Life Safety Systems Inspection, please come to the podium, state your name and address. Mr. Kislick.
John Kislick, 65 Forestville Avenue. I have a few questions, and maybe it'd be for the fire marshal. First, is the fire marshal still doing inspections in the town?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, the town of Plainville has a lot of buildings that have sprinkler systems and alarm systems. Who inspects that and certifies those systems? For all town buildings, like the town hall here, it must have to be certified every once in a while for insurance purposes. I'm wondering who does the inspections and certifications for all our town buildings?
I do them on an annual basis, but it's done by Buildings and Grounds. They have a vendor that comes in and does the service. I certify that it's done and I verify it on an annual basis.
So we hire a vendor to do the inspections?
Yes, sir.
It's not done by you?
It is not.
Okay. Now, the other thing, I don't really have any problem with any of this. It's just questions. Are all these people who own businesses or whatever, factories that have to be inspected, are they required to hire a contractor to come in and inspect and then certify? Or can they get you, as the fire marshal, to come in, say, the old GE building, if it has to be inspected, and they don't want to hire somebody, is that something you do, or are they mandated that they have to hire?
Correct. They don't have a choice. The Connecticut Fire Safety Code requires them to service their system on a quarterly basis or an annual basis based on the occupancy, based on the system.
Okay. And so,
Like the GE building, they hire a company to do the fire alarm system. They hire a separate company to do the sprinkler system. When they were in operation, there's a separate company that comes in and does the extinguisher maintenance and certification.
Right.
I just do the verification on an annual basis.
so you've never done that before anyway, so that's nothing new.
It's nothing that the fire marshal does.
Okay.
We verify compliance, we don't actually do those services.
Okay, so these business owners or building owners, the only new expense they're gonna have is have to be sent to your office for the certification.
Correct. If the vendor that's doing the work chooses to back charge them, it's the cost is on the vendor, whether they build it into the cost of the fee or the service, yes.
Okay, that's all I had, thank you.
You're welcome. Does anybody else wish to speak to the public hearing? Anybody else wish to speak to the public hearing? Last chance. Does anybody else wish to speak to the public hearing? Okay. Thank you for your input, Ron. We appreciate that. At this point, I will close the public hearing. And moving on to our next item, minutes of the previous meetings. May I have a motion, please?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Underwood.
motion to accept the minutes of the previous meeting, June 26, 2023, special meeting, July 17, 2023, regular meeting, July 24, 2023, special meeting, July 24, 2023, Town Council/Board of Education special meeting.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Announcements and reports. Does anybody have any announcements or reports tonight?
Yes.
We do have an item which I will preview. Plainville Public Schools has announced a new superintendent of schools. His name is Brian Reese. Mr. Reese will begin mid-October. Foster, am I right on that?
16.
Okay, perfect. He'll begin October 16th. The current interim superintendent will stay on until the 31st as a transition period. So the new superintendent is going to begin, and I'm sure there's a lot of excitement about that happening. And I suspect at some point after some of the school opening things settle, there will be a reception for the community to meet the new superintendent. So something to look forward to as well. So we will welcome him now and then. I just have a couple more items under announcements and reports. Rhonda Guberman, who is the assistant director at the senior center, is going to be moving on. She's been with the town about, is it 34 years? 33? It's somewhere in that range.
36.
Was it?
36.
36 years. Thank you for that. She is going to be leaving on August the 24th, and there is a big going away party at the senior center to bid her farewell and thank her for all of her service in many years of creating a lot of fun and helping a lot of people at the senior center. That is going to be taking place this Thursday, 1:30 to 3:30 at the senior center. I spoke to Sean, and she was trying to get a sense of how many people were going to be there. So if you think you'd like to stop by and bid Rhonda farewell, I think she's offered to stay on a little bit to help out, but she'll be officially leaving on the 24th. The other item I do have is, as if you don't know this already, the Balloon Festival is taking place this week, Friday and Saturday at Norton Park. There is parking at Robertson Airport and Plainville High School for those who wish to attend. There will be buses running. There is a $5 fee for parking your car at one of those locations. The buses will be transporting people to and from the parking lot into the park throughout the course of the event. This is the first year the fire company has had to charge. However, the cost of everything, as we all know, has escalated, and this is going to help defray the cost of busing. So it is a big event. We are hoping for good weather. It's always well attended. Lots of people are looking very much forward to it returning. So just a reminder, I'm sure you've heard about it. We have signage all over town, and social media has been active. So if you can come down and say hello, it's a fun time to be there. Fireworks are Friday night, approximately 9:15 or 9:20. So, so that is, those are my announcements for this evening. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to report?
Madam Chair, if I could,
Yes.
just, I want to point out kind of the
Oh,
obvious.
please do.
You have a can of water that replaces your bottle of water today, and I just want to explain the significance of that. It's part of water that was donated by Anheuser-Busch through a partnership with the National Volunteer Fire Council. Anheuser-Busch has a long-standing tradition of pausing beer production each year to provide emergency drinking water and supplies for disaster relief efforts. Since 1988, the brewer has donated more than 90 million cans of emergency drinking water to communities impacted by natural disaster and other crises, most notably the wildfires that have affected the country. And it's just, I think, just an acknowledgement, and we had received several cases. Actually, I'm not sure of the quantity that we did, but the fire marshal was generous enough to supply us with some samples. So thank you, Ron, for that. Do you know how many cases we got?
I put in for 98 cases of water.
Okay.
We shared half of that with Farmington. We had to meet a volunteer requirement.
Great. So that's why they're out in front of you. So please
Awesome.
enjoy your water, drinking water tonight.
Nice. Thanks, Ron. Again. Okay. Moving along, if there are no other reports this evening, we have some appointments and resignations. So I will ask for item number 1, please.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
motion to disband the Charter Revision Commission.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2, please.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
motion to disband the Wheeler Elementary School and Plainville High School Project Building Committees.
Second that motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 3, please.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr. Joey. Mr. Joey.
Mr. Joey.
Mr. Catanzaro, sorry. You're sitting in Mr. Rocco's spot. I got very confused.
That's okay. We look the same. We're Italian. All right, so motion to appoint Karen Kowalczyk, 30 Broad Street, to the Inland Wetlands Commission as a regular member for the term ending in January 7th, 2025.
Second. Oh,
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Go ahead.
Great. And motion to appoint Cheryl Gonzalez, 135 Pickney Avenue, to the Inland Wetlands Commission as a regular member for the term ending in January 7th, 2025.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on those motions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4,
Madam Chair,
Mr. Underwood.
motion to accept with regret the resignation of Lori Peterson for the Board of Education.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? I would only ask that we, from the council, send a letter of thanks for her 12 years of service to the Board of Ed.
Absolutely.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 5,
Madam Chair,
Mr. Underwood.
motion to appoint Jarrett A. Bruzis to the Board of Education.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for that. We finished all of the, do we have any other appointments or reappointments to boards and commissions that were not on our list tonight? Anything that we did not take care of? No? Okay. Board of Ed. Okay, we don't have a chair report there. Report of the town attorney. Good evening. Do we have a report tonight?
Good evening. No report.
Okay, thank you for joining us. All right, on to the report of the town manager. Michael?
Yes, thank you, and good evening.
evening.
It is rather lengthy tonight. There are approximately 13 items and financial dashboard, and then, of course, we'll wrap up with happenings. So if you like, I'll, I guess, kind of roll through each one
Yep.
and then save, I guess, questions for the end.
Right,
If that's
that'd be
okay.
great. Thank you.
All right. So the first item is FAA airport grant offer, and this is regarding the new fencing and gates project. So the Aviation Commission identified the perimeter security fence that encloses the airport facility as a priority project over 2 years ago and is included in the airport CIP plan. Due to the size of the project and cost and need for an A2 survey, a decision was made to proceed to phase the project with a partial installation of new fencing and gates along the terminal side of the airport. Our engineering firm, AECom, prepared the specs and ran the procurement bid process for the town and resulted in a low bid of $439,875 from Eagle Fence. So there's an item under new business regarding the approval of bid 2023-24 Robertson Airport new fencing and gates project. Item 2 is the cleaning services contract. The town of Plainville engages a professional cleaning company to provide cleaning services for the municipal center, public library, recreation building, police department, fire station, and water pollution control facility. The current 5-year contract with Magic Gloves Cleaning Services LLC expired on June 30th, 2023. The Buildings and Grounds Department is seeking a renewal of their contract for an additional 5 years. Magic Gloves proposed an agreement that would provide the same level of service for $121,426 per year for 5 years. This agreement stipulates a 1.8% increase beginning on July 1st, 2024, and increases annually by 1.8%. This price is considered fair and competitive given the exceptional services they have provided in the last few years. Anecdotally, I'd just say they are very consistent and with very little or minimal issues that are reported. And if they do, there is swift and quick response when those items come up. And they're very pleased across all buildings and facilities at this point. They are also a woman-owned and disadvantaged business, a DBE, if you will. And so the recommendation is that we continue to work with Magic Gloves and extend their contract. And there's an item under new business regarding the waiver of the competitive procurement process to award the cleaning contract to Magic Gloves Cleaning Services. So that's also under new business. Item 3 is the recreation building roof replacement. The roof over the building at 50 Whiting Street is estimated to be over 35 years old. There have been a series of issues with this roof, including small leaks, ponding, raised drains, blistering roof membrane, and deteriorating flashing around the building. The Building and Grounds Department has requested to engage SR Products Simon Roofing and Sheet Metal to install the new roof. SR Products, Simon Roofing, and Sheet Metal is available through the Interlocal Purchasing System, TIPS, which USA Purchasing Cooperative, of which the town of Plainville holds membership. SR Products, Simon Roofing, and Sheet Metal proposes a new rubber roof membrane. The project is quoted at $87,720, including labor and materials. This project is included in the fiscal year 24 capital improvement plan and is budgeted at $100,000, so this quoted project is under the budgeted amount. There's an item under new business regarding the approval of the bid 2024-09 recreation building roof. Item number 4 is the charter revision discussion. As you know, the commission has completed its work, and the next step is to approve the questions for the referendum. There is an item under new business regarding approval of a resolution entitled Resolution Establishing Referendum on Proposed Revisions to the Town Charter. Item 5 is purchasing ordinance update. And if you recall, this is something that we identified early on, even last year, talking about we were going to make some incremental changes, and we did the first part. Now this is part 2, and it's Chapter 106, which we did to comply with the federal regulations, and when we went through that process, obviously we looked at a few other places that we could clean things up. So the additions and amendments proposed are consistent with the town's current practices and best practice utilized by municipalities within the state. The most significant amendments clarify existing practices and pertain to purchasing thresholds, the request for proposal process, awarding a bid to other than the lowest bidder, sole source, waiver of procurement process, and purchase orders. So it was a process internally. I want to thank Andy and Rob Uden for their work on this to go through to try and clean things up, and that's what you'll see in the language. And this item is also under new business to set a public hearing date to hear comment on the proposed amendments to Chapter 106 on the purchasing articles number 1 and 2. Item number 6 is CGI Communications Agreement Renewal. The Economic Development Office was contacted by CGI Communications regarding updating the community video series that currently is available on the town's website. So that was done a few years ago, and in 2019 the contract was signed, and if you see on the website, those are the links that you can click to go to messages. There's reported message from the previous town manager Robert Lee. There's Superintendent, I'm drawing a blank, and I apologize for LePage. And those need to be updated as well, and there are a few others. There might be some from new opportunities, but we'd like to proceed with CGI. They're circling back to us to gauge the town's interest in renewing and updating the videos. They include education, economic development, quality of life, public safety, community events, and community organizations. With the turnover as the superintendent and the town manager position, we need to update those and try and produce or talk to CGI about producing that. And of course, again, no cost to the town because they go out to the business and advertisers to help support and do that. And if you see in the link and you pull those up, you'll see the advertising all around the various videos. There is an item under new business for that to approve the agreement. Again, no cost for us to engage them to do that. And I just want to add, in addition to that, this whole discussion with CGI and economic development spurred an internal discussion, myself and the assistant Andy, to and Cal, to talk about economic development with respect to marketing and branding, and realizing that we really don't have a logo or slogan, officially, logo or slogan. I mean, obviously, branding, we're a town, that's the brand. It's Plainville is the brand. But there's no tagline or slogan and no graphic or anything like that to help promote. And so we've been kicking around ideas in which to do that. So I think the next thing, a couple of things I'd like to do is explore that. We were talking about maybe sending out some type of poll or survey to the community to gauge any type of feedback that they might be thinking of in terms of connecting Plainville with some type of catchphrase or slogan or things like that. And we want to hear ideas. So we'll probably throw that out in the next week or two. And we've also enlisted the help of our intern, Matt, who is here. I think most of you have met, doing a great job for us, high school intern. and very engaging and helping us on marketing. I think what I'd like to do is if possible, try to make a presentation, have Matt have the experience of doing that presentation to talk to us about the importance of marketing and branding and how we can use a better use and leverage social media to get out a marketing and branding campaign. So, future items, but this particular item on CGI is also the agreement is under new business. Leads me to item 7, the trash and recycling containers purchase. This is the town provides curbside trash and recycling collection and disposal services to eligible residents' properties. Those properties receive 1 trash and 1 recycling container per unit per the Building and Grounds Department. In an effort to continue to provide the service, the Building and Grounds Department is requesting the purchase of 405 95-gallon gray containers for trash and 144 navy containers for recycling from Schaefer Plastics North America LLC for $36,638. Now, this purchase I didn't mention and should have is for replacement barrels. So this is to create an inventory for us, to keep an inventory, so that when we get those calls and the those barrels that actually cannot be fixed or repaired will actually then be replaced. So there's a lot of repair that they do in terms of bad lids and wheels and so forth, so they do that. But there are many occasions when the barrel is just destroyed and has to be replaced. So that's what that is all about, and they are a sole source provider of this equipment, and the recommendation of the council is to waive the requirement for the bid and consider this sole source purchase as allowed for in 106-9 of the General Code. So there's an item under new business regarding the award of bid 2024-10 trash and recycling containers to Schaefer Plastics North America LLC in the amount of $36,638. Item 8, New Hours Municipal Center, Rec Department, Youth Services, and Senior Center. This is the week that we are embarking on the new 4-day work week for those departments, those buildings, which will have a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 8 to 5 schedule, a Thursday, 8 to 6 schedule, and closed on Friday. And it's a 6-month pilot program that will be reviewed in February of 2024. We are taking comment in terms of emails and or posts, just looking to gather information around that rollout, which again is underway. And we are, as I'm sure the council is aware, again, is some of the concern around the senior center. And so we are taking those comments and going to work internally to review those and to consider potential, modifications or ideas that we could potentially change or look at, because we recognize from the comments that we've received thus far, the senior center is more of a community type of focus. It is a community in the sense of people gathering to share experiences and talk to people and have a meal and so forth. Unlike municipal center and just paying a bill or getting a dog license or something in and out transactional. The senior center has more of a community feel, obviously. So we are going to be working on that, taking comments, taking suggestions, and seeing what we can do to try and make a balance on that score for the senior center. So item number 9 is next, which is the White Oak redevelopment project update. This project is moving forward, and the next step in the town's effort to remediate the White Oak property is to properly address the contamination of the existing office and garage buildings. Tigan Bond and town staff have drafted a request proposal RFP for hazardous building material abatement contractors. Representatives from 8 firms attended the mandatory site walk. Of those, 6 submitted responses to the RFP by the July 13th deadline. Responses ranged from $625,000 to $1.6 million. In the process and the lead up to that, an opinion of probable cost. An OPC was submitted to the town by Tig and Bond prior to the RFP estimate, and they estimate it to be roughly $800,000 prior to the whole bid process. All work covered is previously awarded under the Brownfield grant funding. Tig and Bond and the town staff reviewed and graded each response and completed reference checks. Scope reviews calls were scheduled with the 3 low bidders or low responsive bidders. And following the calls, the town and Tig and Bond made a joint proposal to DECD that we move forward in presenting Enviro consultants and recyclers to the town council as the preferred contractor in this case. And there is an item under new business to award RFP 2024-02, the hazardous building material abatements of former White Oak property to Enviro contractors and recyclers for $625,000, and to authorize the town manager to enter into a contract with the said group. Item 10, Paderewski Park update. A site walk was conducted on July 26th to visually inspect the park and area around the pond. There was a general agreement among the members present that the pond is an asset that should be preserved. There was a general discussion on ways in which to promote conservation efforts while allowing recreational activities to continue. I put together a separate memo to outline my recommendations as you consider your next steps. While the memo has more detail, it covers items like park conditions and possible improvements, upgrades to signage, improvements to the boat launch, added conservation efforts, educational efforts, and promotion of best practices. And as you recall, what kind of spurred this on was a letter from the Conservation Commission, and I think that if you get a chance, read through my recommendations. Certainly I'll answer any questions you may have this evening, but I think we should attempt to bring this back for the September meeting and at least give a formal response back to Conservation as to what direction we think we were heading, because there were some differences in terms. And I boil this down to just a balance of trying to have both conservation efforts and preservation along with active recreation. And I think we can do it. I think there's a number of ideas, and I'm sure there are more that will come as we collectively put our head around this and begin to kind of tease it out and see what we can do for Paderewski. And I even think there's opportunity for organizations to take ownership of it and to help us out and become partners with us in terms of sprucing things up. So I would recommend that come back for September. Item 11 is the federal fiscal year 2022 Homeland Security Grant Program. The State Homeland Security Grant Program is providing monies to the Capital Region Council of Governments in the amount of $480,956 for regional collaboration as it relates to Homeland Security. Each of the 38 cities and towns in the Capital Region must sign off on having the COG coordinate this regional effort. So there's a resolution under new business to authorize an execution of a memorandum of agreement that would allow the COG to act as our agent with respect to the use of these funds for the region. And item 12 is Farmington Fire Marshal Mutual Aid. This is a mutual aid agreement between Plainville and the town of Farmington. The towns voluntarily enter into this Fire Marshal Mutual Aid Agreement pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes 57-310 for the purpose of providing the opportunity to share authorized fire marshal staff and resources among the two towns for emergency responses. Farmington obviously is a larger community, they have more personnel, but they have agreed to share the fire marshal and 4 inspectors, and these individuals for your approval will be sworn in by the town clerk to aid us in mutual aid. And 13 is future middle school discussions. Wanted to add this as well. Now that we've had a chance to digest the presentation from Mike Zuba of SLAM, to update the council on the next steps as I see them to move forward. So I believe there's consensus based on that presentation of July 24th that the demographics and enrollment projections show that closing the middle school is not an option, which would leave us with one, renovate as new, and the second option is maintenance, what I call a maintenance plan, I think is probably the easiest way to describe it. Based on these two options, I think it makes sense to do the following before holding our next meeting, and that would be to request updated numbers from CSG for renovate as new, update members from board and town on maintenance plan, get updated numbers internally on the maintenance plan, review the application process and reimbursement rate with the state of Connecticut, the Office of School Construction Grants and Review, review and update the bond analysis and debt service schedule with Rob Uden and our bond counsel. And then once that information is obtained, to reconvene a joint meeting with the Board of Ed to discuss the findings and anything else that we may need for decision purposes, but also to bring the new superintendent up to speed on process and set a date for a type of public forum, which I think we've talked about and alluded to kind of explain, or entertain, questions that they may have. But I think the important aspect of the superintendent coming on board on October 16th, but I'm sure that we'll have interaction before then, and I'm sure that he'll be briefed on that item. But I think that's my look at moving forward in terms of data, numbers gathering, if you will, and then trying to bring sort of some clarification update with respect to those two options. I don't see that there are any other options at this point, and to try and give as much information as possible for that, and then we'll decide which direction you want to go and how you want to go in the next steps. But we'll be working internally behind the scenes to get that ready, and hopefully sometime September, October, we'll have that ready. So that leads us to financial dashboard, but maybe the right place to pause is right now before going into financial dashboard to handle any questions that may have come up on the first 13 items.
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead, Joe.
Hi, just a quick question on intern Matt, who's extremely smart. If you haven't met him, he's the best. You've obviously met him, but he's great. So you had him working on like some marketing and branding from Plainville?
We had him work on some ideas for leveraging social media. So with the intent of saying, okay, how do we market or brand Plainville? And so he's done some research. He's got a slide deck he's gone through, and I think that would be something that I think he could present. We're talking to him about that and see if he'd be interested in doing it. It was just a thought that I think it would be pretty interesting as an opportunity for him to do that.
That's really cool. I was thinking that through that, since he is going to use, social media platforms, what might be really cool is if he reached out to his fellow classmates and maybe even involved the high school as like, do you like these three, Matt came up with these three brands, choose which one and get the high school involved, and then they could vote on it. It'd be really cool because it'll make them, because people that are older, they really don't use social media, but if you're getting the kids using the social media, you're going to get a lot more engagement, a lot more views. So maybe present that to them and they could feel that they're a part of it. It could be really, I think it might be a really interesting process. I was actually a director of social media at a company once, so and I know that the kids were the highest, surprisingly.
Yeah.
But the kids were the best at it, so you might want to consider using that.
Absolutely, certainly run that by him. Yeah. Yeah, he's really engaging, and he gets it, and he was a pleasure to work with, and we'll continue to work with him. And I think this is, opportunity for him to develop even more skills by having the ability and the opportunity to present what he worked on with us, and sort of to wrap it all up, to kind of wrap it all up for his summer intern.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
Anybody else?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Rosemary.
In terms of the middle school discussion that we'll be having at future meetings, I think it would be helpful, or at least to me, to have really like a side-by-side comparison as to what items would be included in the maintenance. And that's very clear in some of the documentation we already have. But also what items would be included as renovate, as new. I went through the documentation we have from last June of 2022 and November of 2022, February of 2023, and a lot of that is in there, but I think it would be helpful to actually see a side-by-side, item-by-item comparison.
That's a lot. I mean, if you look at the whole project, there's
a lot of stuff in it.
400-page document.
Yeah, but it's close,
I think
I
maybe
realize
they
some things could be grouped,
They could probably
yeah.
boil it down to
Yeah,
electrical, carpentry.
exactly, yeah.
Okay, but you're not talking item by item.
Oh, no,
of
no, no.
course.
When I say
Okay.
items, I'm talking about,
Okay.
replacement of the heating system, you know what I mean? Kind of
Okay.
thing. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, now I
Yeah.
understand. I mean,
Yeah.
it's an incredibly long document.
Right,
The
right.
original
But,
plan for that.
but, no, I don't mean down to pieces of separate equipment necessarily. I mean,
Well-
replacement of a system would be an item. kind of thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Go ahead. Thank you, Rosemary. Anybody else have anything?
Yes, I have a question for the town manager.
Go ahead.
Michael, when you start looking into the senior center, the possibility of how we're going to handle it on the fifth day, which was Friday, also look into the transportation service for the seniors. I know they have bus service, and I'm going to assume that the bus service also was canceled on Friday, and how many people actually use it on that day. But again, I think that should be one of the items we look at.
Sure.
Okay.
If I may really quickly, yeah, so that's something I talked to Sean, the director of the senior center, about. I believe they were still looking to do some type of shopping trips, and they do regular outings with the senior center. They were going to look to continue to do those on Fridays as well. We're still trying to figure out exactly what that looks like, but that's part of the plan, so that people still have some access to services they need and appointments or grocery shopping and things that they have to get to.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody have anything else? I just have a quick question, Michael. In item number 7. Regarding the trash containers, it says on the second to last bullet, so you're recommending because they are a sole source, that we waive the requirement for the bid, which makes perfect sense. But then, under new business, we have an item regarding awarding a bid to them. So are we saying we're not going to have to do a bid and then we're going to award a bid? Or does that not make a difference in terms of words? Because we're really not going out for a bid because of them being a sole source provider. So is it actually really a bid, or are we just awarding the contract to somebody? It's not a bid, right? We're not doing
Well,
that.
I think we're lifting it off. I think we still have to do it as a bid, and I don't know what the specific clause, but maybe Andy has something, but I think we want to keep it that way.
I don't know. I just,
No, I understand.
It's conflicting to me.
Yeah.
If we're not doing a bid, but we're actually awarding a bid, could
I
we?
think it has to assign a number to put it into the finances, right?
Yeah, so if I may, so we assign a bid number to the project, similar to what we would do if we were to go out to bid. This is because our purchasing threshold requires anything above $25,000 to go through a competitive procurement process, or if the town council sees fit, to waive that process. For our record keeping, we assign numbers to everything above $25,000 so that we could keep track of that. And while a bid number is assigned to it, it does not necessarily mean that it went out to competitive procurement. So the motion itself that is recommended just is actually a motion to waive the bid process and award to that vendor directly.
Okay.
So I could see why there's the conflict there. We actually had the conversation this week, but it's more of a record-keeping process for us to assign a number to it.
Okay.
So that we have
I just, it seems that we're not going through that formal bidding, but we're now using those
Yeah,
words
yeah.
to award the contract, so, okay, thank you for that. Does anybody have any other questions for the town manager at this time? All right, thank you.
Okay, great. We'll move on to our next item, which is the dashboard. And as part of the dashboard, financial dashboard, we have, first, I want to say we have the June 30th month year-end also. So I'd like to maybe talk about, go through the numbers on June, and then I also have July. And so in there is obviously, June is our fiscal year end, and so I'm not sure there's questions or inquiries about, where we are with the fund balance and so forth. And then, of course, July is early on in our fiscal year, so there's not much to say there in terms of other than tracking. But it is a slightly different format. If you notice in there, I'm looking for your feedback. And I'm hoping it's an improvement and maybe a little bit bigger, easier to read, maybe not, maybe an extra page. But Rob helped me with trying to, clean this up, not clean it up, but try to kind of, present it a little bit, slightly different and trying to get to the numbers. So certainly welcome any feedback you have on terms of the actual format itself. But for 2023, June of 2023, first page, you can see that we finished with a variance of 692,883, and that breaks down as the general government as 657,035. So we were under budget on the general government side, and on the Board of Education, they turned back 35,848. So if you take those two numbers, the 657,035 and the 35,848 from the Board of Ed, you get the balance remaining of 692. Well, however, you see the red numbers over on the right. As you all know, we did an additional appropriation of $425,000 for the self-insurance and $555,000 additional appropriation for the town CIP. Which gave us a total of $980,000. So overall, in the scheme of things, the budget and the year end, not too bad in the scheme of things. Is it negative? Yeah, it is, to the tune of $579,075, which represents under 1%. So it really, hard to say, but I guess you could say, relatively flat year, relatively good year, because you think about what you did with the insurance fund, you took care of that. Plus now it's it's tracking with a balance of $125,000 for the insurance fund. So that's a negative that you've knocked out of the box and taken care of. So I think that's a way to look at the year ends as a positive. It wasn't building the fund balance like we hoped we would, and I'm sure we hope to every year. But again, at 579, it represents less than 1% of the total budget, and is not going to drag us down with respect to fund balance. So, that's a takeaway. There are some, bright spots that are helping us there. With second page, if you look at the overtime expenditures for police dispatch overtime, roadways overtime, buildings and ground overtime, and looked and grouped those together as both the regular and snow overtimes together. Those are all positive variances in terms of remaining balances. So if you add up all of three boxes there of the police, roadways, and building and grounds, we're positive by about 113,000. So it's moving in the right direction again, but With a caveat also, even with that statement, that the police has really done well, which is great, was the largest budget, 550 or 500,000 police overtime, 50 for dispatch. The snow budget is just a wild card, right? So we were fortunate this year to have, extra savings, if you will, but it's not something you can bank on. The police side, however, the chief doing what he's done in terms of keeping or hiring to put officers back on to full complement has helped, obviously, move the overtime in a downward trajectory. So that I think is a positive as well, and we'll continue to monitor that. He's still down 2 officers, and as you know, we're looking to hire. I thought we had an individual has reconsidered, so at this point he's looking to put 2 officers in the academy, and hopefully, but again, that takes time. As you know, the preferred strategy is lateral because it is streamlined, it's faster, and it puts an officer on the street right away, and you have immediate results. Moving to revenues. The town revenue variance there is down $291,000 from the budgeted of $65,685,220 to the actual collected $65,393,262. So that's a variance there of 291. But the current taxes revenue on the tax side was better than expected. Of the amended budget of $49,001,288 to $49,202,906. So a positive variance on that side. The fund balance, as I mentioned, is going to decrease 579. So if you look at those numbers, there's the $1,424,500 that was allocated for use of fund balance to lower the mill rate. We had the health insurance of $425, CIP of $555. That adds to $980. Giving us a surplus there of $444,500, and then the town expenditures $657, and then the Board of Ed $35, again $291 town revenues. So we're with the lower expenditures on both the town and Board of Ed side offset the revenue decline for a positive variance of $400,925. So taking those numbers, adding those up, we reduced the audited financial fund balance of $11,545,205 down to an estimated undesignated fund balance of $10,966,130. So that's a decrease of $579,075, and that's where I got the less than 1% of the budget on that respect. So that, if again, these are unaudited and won't be audited for at least a minimum of 60 days until we can get auditors through. They are, on a positive note, they have been in and they are working, and Rob is pushing them hard this year to make sure that we don't have the delays that we did last year, and hopefully that will result in earlier information, earlier findings, but these are unaudited at this point, but looks to be $10,966,000 and about 16.77%, down from the 17.77%. So there's your the 1%. Next is special revenue funds, recreation. On the recreation side, expenditures, the budget was $270, actual was $184, positive variance of $85,792. On the revenue side, budgeted $194,200, actual $252,889, positive variance of $58,689. So good numbers there, and again, going to have to see how this all sorts out going forward for the next budget, trying to get a better handle on bringing both the expenditures and revenue in line with more accurate forecasting, I think, if we can, to what extent we can. Robinson Airport also, an $86,050 budget with an actual of $3287 with a positive variance there. And revenues operating 120, actual 405, so a positive variance there. Water pollution control, the same. The actual budgeted was $4,245,107. The actual spent $4,137,969, a positive variance of $107,138. On the expenditure side, revenue side, budgeted of $4,123,500. The actual $4,364,492 for a positive variance of $240,992. Next page is the library fund, budgeted $763,461, actual $700,788, positive variance of $62,673. But they're on the revenue side, budget of $723,761, actual $689,991, which I think is the reflection of the endowment that was budgeted to help in terms of operations, but didn't quite, with the market demands, didn't quite. I think it was a performance issue within the endowment, but I'll double check that with Rob. But nonetheless, on the whole, pretty much a flat budget and good news there. And then the major projects report, the Town Line Road project at the top, and that is 92% complete. Actually, it's not. The project's complete, but the reporting isn't. So we've got to report to the state, and the problem there, as I've been saying, I probably sound like a broken record, but there's $80,000 in the fund and the project fund balance that we have to figure out how either it's going back to the state, or what I'd prefer is that they allow us to reallocate, reprogram that in other transportation projects. But knowing the history of the state, they're going to ask for it back. And you'll likely see this lingering there for quite some time until they ask for it back, unfortunately. So anyway, we can carry that just so we don't lose it, and we'll carry that. The turf maintenance fund, quite honestly, that is something that, there's money, a little bit of trickling of money coming into that, but there isn't a whole lot that gets done with that. I mean, it's a maintenance fund, so I think the question ought to be, life cycle and fund health of the fund, and that's the next question I'll go through with Rob and staff to find out if we are on track when they come to us and say, hey, listen, where's the fund at? We need to put something major, and I'm not sure that we've got enough funds to cover. Currently, it's saying we got $230,000 in there. I'll be the first one to tell you I don't know anything about turf, and I just know it's expensive, and so I think that's the question to ask. We find out if we're on track. Much like if we're replacing roads or anything else, we need to know what that cost is going to be. ARPA funds, we haven't had much discussion on that lately, but I think we'll probably look to that to have an update later this fall and get an update on those projects. Road bond project is also 82% complete. We're wrapping our way through those funds with about $1.8 million left, but that'll be, I'm sure, we'll be going through that relatively quick. Northwest Drive Road reconstruction, Northwest Drive Road reconstruction is complete, as is the Wheeler project. So I'm not sure there's any need other than the, balances there that we need to keep, like the Town Line Road, keep until we get the balances cleared for those projects. Excuse me. So that's it for the June report and the fiscal year end. I think I'll pause there and take questions. And before we go into, like I said, July is 1 month out, not much reported there. But I'll be happy to go through that as well.
Any questions so far? Your end? Nope. Okay. Thank you.
All right, so July, first month in, we are under the 2-year average at this point with actual spent $3,981,883 of our amended budget of our budget of $68,070,687. So just a hair under the 2-year average. We spent 5.85% thus far in the first month. So again, not a whole lot to report. These are just the first months, and the general government breaks down that we're spending 11.5%, and we're under the 2-year average of 13. And on the Board of Education side, percentage spent is 2.57, and it's under the 2-year average of 2.70. So again, the trend is positive. It's under the 2-year average. On the dispatch, police and dispatch overtime, they are running under their 2-year average. Thus far, the roadways overtime expenditure is through July is first month running under their 2-year average, but the building and grounds is a little bit over their 2-year average by $373. Oh, and I do want to go back. I'm sorry, I skipped over. I'm just looking at this page here for July of the hauler tonnage on solid waste and the hauler tonnage on recycling. I do want to go back. I apologize for the year end. That was an issue there. Excuse me. Let me go back. Yeah. There was a on the solid waste. The amount of tonnage was less than the previous year by the tune of 412 tons, which resulted in a balance remaining on that budget of $34,923. However, we didn't do so well on the recycling side, even though the tonnage on that was down as well. You see that there's a negative tonnage there of 200. That's because the rate at which we put in was under what the tipping was. So we have gone over, and that's where we did go over, by 32,451 on the recycling side, and that's due to the tip. If you see tip fee per ton, we had budgeted 45, the actual was 80, so we got crushed on that, but still, in the overall scheme of things, it balanced out with the savings we had on the solid waste side, and I just wanted to go back. I skipped over that, and I apologize, but I did want to point that out. So we'll continue to track that, and I think that's one of those items that we'll have to take a look at in the next budget round to try and get a better handle on the recycling side. And again, again, I'm not sure how to attribute the tonnage, but just those are the numbers. All right, so where we're on. So we're moving through overtime. And also recycling and solid waste. Those are running under for the first month, so the trend continues. Next page is the revenues. Again, just 1 month. I'm not sure there's much to comment on that and/or, fund balance or any of it. It's just early on in the fiscal year. So I'll just stop there and just, answer any questions that you may have for the new fiscal year and the first month of July.
Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. That brings us to happenings. I'm happy to turn it over to Andy.
Sure, sounds good. Thank you. Do have a few happenings to report on. The first is fall bulk pickup, which is scheduled to begin on Monday, September 11th, and will end on Monday, October 30th. Plainville has an on-demand policy for bulk pickup of items, and residents who currently have curbside waste and recycling collection are eligible to receive one bulk pickup per calendar year free of charge for acceptable large items that do not fit within the normal waste containers. So if you have any questions or if you'd like more information on this, you can go to the Plainville website at www.plainvillect.com, and there's also a list of acceptable bulk items as well. From the Plainville Public Library, their annual book sale by the Friends of the Library will be on Friday, September 8th, 2023 at 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. and also on Saturday, September 9th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Essentially, you can fill a bag of books for $3 per bag, and they accept cash or check only. For more information on this program, you can call the Plainville Public Library at 860-793-1446 or visit www.plainvillect.com/library. From the Central Connecticut Chamber of Commerce, the Chamber of Commerce meet and greet for Plainville business owners will be on Thursday, September 7th from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. at the Fairfield Inn and Suites by Marriott here in Plainville. It is $20 per person, and that includes food as well. Interested business owners can register online at www.centralctchambers.org. Brewfest on Saturday, September 16th from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. at Muzzy Field in Bristol. This is $30 a person for general admission, and there will be beer and cider tastings along with food trucks and live music. You can view more information at www.centralctchambers.org. And last thing from the Central Chamber of Commerce is the Business After Hours. This is an opportunity for businesses to meet and build relationships with other businesses. This is on Wednesday, September 27th from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Plainville Funeral Home. There's no cost for attendance, and refreshments will be provided. Finally, from the Senior Center, for all information on Senior Center programs, you can call the Plainville Senior Center at 860-747-5728, and all programs are free and open to the public unless otherwise indicated. The first is skin cancer screening on Monday, September 11th, beginning at 4 p.m. by appointment only. Georgia Sturka, an APRN, will conduct a free skin cancer screening, and again, that's by appointment only. Caregiving Connections on Tuesday, September 12th at 10 a.m. Connect with other caregivers at the Senior Center to support one another through the challenges of providing 24/7 care. Was Mary Todd Lincoln really insane? This is an event hosted by Joe Willett, the history guy. This is on Thursday, September 14th, 2023 at 10 a.m. I'm going to go with she probably wasn't really insane. Probably a lot going on at the time. But I don't know. I'd be interested in finding out. Help for Veterans, Tuesday, September 19th, 2023 at 10 a.m. by appointment only. You can call Jason Coppola, Veterans Service Officer, at 203-805-6340 for veteran-related support and any assistance with paperwork. And finally, Grandparents Raising Grandchildren will be having their 15th annual conference. This is on Tuesday, September 26th from 9 a.m. to 1:30 p.m., and you must register by September 19th. This is open to any grandparent or relative raising a grandchild, niece, or nephew, and there will be presentations including recognizing your emotions and supporting your child, when a backpack isn't just a backpack, and laughter yoga. There's complimentary breakfast, a luncheon, and a dessert bar, plus raffle prizes. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Thank you both for your reports. Does anybody have any questions or comments regarding either one? Okay, thank you again. All right, we're now in our public comment section of the meeting. During this time, we welcome the public to step to the podium. Please state your name and address. You will be given 3 minutes to speak to the council. Does anybody wish to speak to the council?
I have a statement. I made copies.
We'll let you know. No problem. Thank you. Here's some more
Oh,
copies.
there's more copies. More copies.
Let's see if I can situate this right. Good evening. My name is Susan Garigliano. I'm at 255 Cook Street in Plainville, and I'm also a member of the Senior Center. And I don't have to have an all-inclusive list here because there were some people who were very helpful as to what the Senior Center provides this evening. So the statement is, earlier this month, the Plainville Senior Center members learned of the decision to close Town Hall and the Senior Center on Friday on a 6-month trial basis. And the reason I wanted to come here tonight is that I'm hoping that that can be reversed before the 6 months is up. As you mentioned, Rhonda is leaving, and she's been here 36 years, and she runs everything beautifully with Sean. I talked to Sean. Sean told me that she's been with the Senior Center for 47 years. So I don't believe she has any plans to leave, but I think Rhonda leaving is sort of a wake-up call. So what I'm hoping is that now that we're in the process of hiring an assistant director, that there'll be enough cross-training that maybe the employees could have a 4-day work week if the hours are staggered, so that perhaps the director would be there 1 day a week without the assistant director, and the assistant director, once she's trained, maybe after a couple of months or something, might be there on a slower day, and she would be there alone without the director. Currently, the Friday hours are only 4 hours, so possibly the assistant director could be on that day. And I'm just hoping that you'll consider this so that the person who's going to be hired will have an idea what to expect as to what her hours are, so there won't be a misunderstanding and we won't have to shuffle to put the posting out there again. While there's considerable information online for Town Hall, the Senior Center is an entirely different operation meant to serve a specific population and therefore should remain open 5 days per week.
You can keep going. You have another 30 seconds.
I'm sorry.
So you can continue, sure.
Lunches are served daily at the Senior Center. These balanced meals at an affordable price / suggested donation help seniors who might not be healthy enough to cook for themselves. Seniors who might otherwise face cooking for just one person, as we all know, that's kind of no fun, might not prepare a similarly balanced meal, and members look forward to socializing with friends and acquaintances as they enjoy their lunches. Exercise and fitness. Seniors are very aware of the need to stay as strong as possible for as long as possible so that we can continue to live independently. Exercise classes at the center are geared to various fitness levels, often emphasizing balance and flexibility. And also available is excellent exercise equipment from kind and generous donors. I believe it wasn't Plainville that funded it. There's plaques on the wall as to who donated it. I know the town manager was shown around by Rhonda one day and saw all the equipment there. And there's much greater awareness now. I mean, nobody's trying to be Hercules at our age and up, but there's a good deal of awareness that strength training is very good for older people. And again, participation provides perfect opportunity to socialize. We've all learned how important to children's mental and emotional well-being it is to be back in person in the school buildings rather than learning from home. The same is true for seniors, perhaps even more so. The programs described here cannot be provided online, and many seniors limit their driving to very few destinations close to home and may not be able to drive to senior centers in neighboring towns. By the way, Southington does not allow Plainville residents to join, even if, we could get there. Bristol exercise room is pathetic, basically, compared to ours. So it would be a shame to let all that equipment just sit there. So my suggestion, as I said, if you could possibly work in 4.5 days to be open and provide the services, but still give the staff a 4-day work week, perhaps that would be a compromise that I hope you could consider, that I hope would work. And I summed it up. Plainville Senior Center members are extremely grateful for this beautiful facility with its dedicated staff and volunteers, because not everybody is a paid staff person. And please do not underutilize it by making it available only 4 days per week. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak? John?
John Kislick, 65 Forest Hill Avenue. I have 3 items.
That's okay.
Really don't.
That was enough, John.
That's,
That was enough.
I'm used to that.
God honest, that was an accident.
On purpose.
Good job, Cindy.
Anyway, I have three items. One of them, there was a opening on Park and Rec, Park and Rec concert committee or whatever. And I filed an application and I met with the town manager. And unfortunately, I know it's rough up here a few times, and the town manager doesn't want to recommend my appointment to you because of my attitude sometimes when I've been up here. He did recommend that I can go on cable TV, but I'm not interested in a cable TV commission. I feel that I would have been an asset to this town in that committee. I've met with them. The director likes me. Most of the members I get along with great, and I feel I would have been an asset. And it's kind of sad that you're not going to get my recommendation from the town manager, but that's the way it goes. The other thing is on your new hours. I never was a fan of half-a-days on Fridays. Probably 50 years ago, where I was working, we tried half a day. And by the time you get set up and have a coffee break and break down, you in effect lose an hour. And I think that's what was happening here. But none of this will affect me, but it will affect some of the employees. On Thursdays, you're going to be working 10 hours. 6 o'clock at night. Think about January and February. You go out to your car, it's 15 or 20 degrees out there, and your windshields are frozen over solid. You're not going to be a happy camper. And that time of night in those months, that's brutal with the traffic and stuff. So that's up to the employees. But I wanted to bring that up. That's something you're going to see in January and February after 10 hours of work. The other thing I have is I went to your meetings at the library on the charter revision. I really wasn't impressed on what happened at the charter revision with the banter back and forth, but it's the same thing that happened here, so I wasn't impressed with that. But that next group came in, and I was sitting in the back, and they started pouring in, and I just felt the hostility. I could see it, I could feel it, and I can hear it. I felt like I was here again, like what happened at a council meeting. And I felt so bad for you council members. I said, you guys don't get paid. And that was a hostile environment. I said, you should be getting awarded at least $500 for hazardous pay. I mean, it had to be brutal for you to stay through there with, you could just look at those people and you can see the hostility. It's just sad that it has to be this way, that they want their way and they're not going to give up and they're going to be vicious and mean instead of working together. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak that has not done so? Yes, sir.
David Spencer, 127 Milford Street Extension. A couple of weeks ago at the Senior Center, we got blindsided by an announcement that you're going to cut the days down to 4, eliminate Fridays from operation at the Senior Center. There are, we seniors, some of us really depend on having, that, we have a community meal there daily, Monday through Friday until this week now. It's a blessing for a lot of the seniors. We get to go, hang out with each other. We get to socialize. We get a nice, nourishing meal at a fair price. And now that's gone. Now we'll have a 3-day weekend for a lot of us. And that socializing is necessary and good for us. We have our friends there. We'll see them maybe Monday through Thursday, but then we get like 3 days to be by ourselves. Sean is really spinning it over there. She's saying, we'll have the same amount of hours, but we'll just start at 8 instead of 9 in the morning. I can't wait to see how many seniors are racing over there to the Senior Center at 8 in the morning. Take advantage of that. She's also said, we can go to Bristol, we can go to Southington, we can go to New Britain or anywhere else to get a meal on Friday if you want. There are people in our senior housing that struggle to get to here. How are they going to go to Southington? Even if they don't drive, a lot of them don't drive. Even if they have a mode of transportation, and just the back and forth to eat with a bunch of strangers, it's going to take an hour out of their day. My question to you right now, did any one of you, 6 or even 7, even think to come to the Senior Center and talk to us, ask us how this might affect us? I didn't see one of your faces over there, and I doubt you did this all on your own. It got sprung on us with no warning at all, and it's going to affect our lives. So I'm imploring you right now to reinstate. Maybe this works good for the town hall and whoever else you're applying it to, but it doesn't work good for the seniors. It's going to take away a nourishing meal for a lot that, struggle to even cook for themselves. It's going to keep us alone for an extra day. And I don't think you guys even considered that. Did you take a survey of it? I can't find one senior over there who I've talked to who likes this idea. So, and as far as I can tell, not one of you spoke to one of us. So I'm imploring you right now to reconsider and reestablish the Friday hours there. And we all vote too. So I see there's 5 Republicans and 2 Democrats. If this doesn't get resolved, maybe you Democrats can make it an issue at the next election, because you'd have my vote for that. Thank you.
So just to kind of close the circle about the Senior Center hours, the town manager already spoke earlier regarding looking at the Senior Center, and we're going to look at that, sir. We're not going to just...
I'm sorry, I'm a little hard.
We're going to look at that because there has been feedback from the community that the town manager's office has received, and we're evaluating it. So we are going to look at that, yes. Yes, and you're right. The senior center is different than the tax office or some of the other administrative offices here in the town, which is why we need to look at it in a different light. And that's why this is a, trial basis for 6 months. But certainly if this is an issue that is coming to the top of the list for the senior center, we're going to certainly look at that and take it seriously.
Yeah, I mean,
We are.
when I was working, I would have loved to, I worked for a company that they thought about a 10-hour, 4-day week, but they never implemented it. I would have jumped at that in a minute. But this is a whole different situation.
Indeed. We are actually doing that.
And, by the way, my tax bill went up 8%, so I would like,
Mine too.
that extra day of service.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak that has not done so? Gail?
Gail Black, 4 Yancey Avenue. I haven't really done too much down the senior center, but tomorrow will be 2 weeks since my sister died. And they're the first people that sent me a sympathy card. So my other thing is, do the kids get food during the summer or during the year? Do they
Yes.
get breakfast?
They're allowed to, yes.
So are
There's a
they going to
program
get
in
cut
place
back
for that.
on Fridays? You should think about that, because adults, seniors need more, so just think about that. My neighbor wanted me to ask you, has anything been done to the water recently, within the last few months?
Well, Aquarian has purchased the water company from Valley Water, and there is a treatment plant being installed. I'm not sure if it's online yet. There was conversation that it would be online in July or August, but I am not sure if that happened. It was to reduce the hardness of the water.
Yeah.
Do we know if that has happened?
I don't know. In fact,
Okay.
Councilor Morandi has raised the same question today. I don't have an answer yet. It was told that this summer it was supposed to be online, but I didn't receive any communication. So I'm going to have to reach out to Aquarian and ask if that's fully operational or if they're still working out the kinks. But it should be by now.
I'd like to know, because he tried to get me to taste or smell the water from, and I wouldn't dare touch it. I still buy my Poland Spring. And, as long as, I won't give my cats that water.
Yeah.
They get Poland Spring too.
Yeah, we'll try to get an update on that, a clarification on the status of the operation, and also maybe we can do some notification and put some information out there that the area, which plant, and the area as well.
We were, and I went to the meeting some years ago, and I stood up and asked how long ago their plant had been built, and they said in the 1940s. That's a really old plant. It's probably got asbestos all over it. At any rate, yeah, okay.
I'll try and
thank
get you info.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak that has not done so? Anybody else before I close the public comment section? Okay, thank you all for your coming to speak to us tonight. I appreciate that, and the public comment section is closed. Moving on to the rest of our agenda. We don't have any old business to take care of, so we're going to move into the new business section. May I have a motion for item number 1, please?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Underwood.
motion to adopt an amendment to Chapter 219, Fire and Fire Prevention, Article 4, Fire Protection and Life Safety Systems Inspection.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2, please.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Underwood.
motion to approve and authorize the town manager to execute the FAA grant agreement offered for the installation of new fencing and gates at Robinson Airport.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3, please.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Underwood.
motion to award bid number 2023-24, installation of new fencing and gate at Robertson Airport to Eagle Fence and Guardrail, Plainville, Connecticut, in the amount of $439,875.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 4, please.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Underwood.
motion to award RFP number 2024-02, hazardous building material abatement for former White Oak property to Enviro Consultants and Recycler, Danbury, Connecticut, in the amount of $625,000.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 5, please.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Underwood.
motion to waive the bid process and award bid number 2024-08, cleaning service contract to Magic Gloves Cleaning Services LLC, New Britain, Connecticut, in the amount of $120,426.36 with a 1.8 annual increase for years 2 through 5.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 6.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Underwood.
motion to award bid number 2024-09, recreation building roof under the interlocal purchasing system contract number 21060302, SR Products, Simon Roofing and Sheet Metal, in the amount of $87,720.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries. Number 7.
Madam Chair,
Ms. Tompkins.
motion to waive the bid process and award bid number 2024-10, trash and recycling containers to Schaefer Plastics North America, LLC, Charlotte, North Carolina, in the amount of $36,638.
Second that motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 8, please.
Madam Chair,
Ms. Tompkins.
motion to adopt a resolution entitled Resolution Establishing Referendum on Proposed Revisions to the Town Charter.
Second that motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Before we leave that, Michael, can we send a letter of gratitude and thanks to the commission members for the time that they have spent working on this for us? I don't know if we've done that yet, but now that we're closing out
Yeah,
the commission, if we could.
absolutely. Yep.
Thank you so much. Okay. All right. Number 9.
Motion to establish a public hearing at 7 p.m. in the Municipal Center on Monday, September 18th, 2023, to hear public comment regarding a proposed amendment to Chapter 106, Purchasing Articles 1 and 2.
Second that motion.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 10.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
motion to approve and authorize the town manager to execute an agreement with CGI Communications.
Second that motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Rosemary.
I definitely support this, but I did notice that when I clicked, I was looking at the videos, which are, short, snappy, they're to the point. When I clicked on the one for community organizations, it's really just a generic animation.
Oh.
Right, so that, not to change the language of the motion, but just if there could be a reminder to Cal that they, do an actual video for that as well, since it does appear.
Yeah, very good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
Support this.
Thanks, Rosemary. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 11.
Madam Chair,
Ms. Tompkins.
motion to adopt a resolution regarding fiscal year 2022 Homeland Security Grant Program Memorandum of Agreement.
Second that motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 12.
Madam Chair,
Ms. Tompkins.
motion to approve the tax refunds as listed on the addendum.
Second that.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay,
Oh,
good work.
Okay,
All right,
I didn't know that.
number 12, do we have any other discussions of interest tonight, Michael, that you would like to share?
None that I can think of. There were a lot of mentions tonight, but nothing more from me.
Okay. Awesome. Anybody else have anything? Don't forget to go to the Balloon Festival. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
It's returned from
Mhm.
2022, probably. Hasn't been around in a long, no, 2020.
19.
19.
Yeah,
Yep.
3-year hiatus. Yeah.
Long time.
Okay, well,
4 year.
it should be fun. I think a lot of people are going to be there. All right. We do not have an executive session, so may I have a motion to adjourn?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Underwood?
motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much.